It all began as an ordinary day in September, an ordinary day in Raccoon City, a city controlled by Umbrella. No one dared to oppose them. That lack of strength would ultimately lead to their destruction. I suppose they had to suffer the consequences for their actions. There would be no forgiveness. If only they had the courage to fight. It's true, once the wheels of justice began to turn, nothing can stop them. Nothing. It was Raccoon City's last chance, and my last chance, my last escape.
Back at it again, as you see. In the last episode, I talked about my favorite Resident Evil game, which was Resident Evil 2. Why not talk about my second favorite Resident Evil game, which is Resident Evil 3? I guess I should get a little serious with this one as well, right? Because it's my second favorite. Well, I'm going to anyways. You know why? Because I really love you guys. Resident Evil 3. Where to really start with this one? Well, aside from the fact that your main character is one of the main characters from Resident Evil 1. Jill Valentine, originally from the STARS unit that went into the mansion in the Arklay Mountains. Well, in this particular situation, for Resident Evil 3, a few months go by after that incident, and some shit actually goes down in the RPD. Apparently nobody believed her, nor Chris Redfield, or any of the other survivors that actually got out of the Arklay Mountains mansion incident. Nobody believed them. So, basically in a nutshell, the whole city's going to shit. Jill is still in Raccoon City, while everybody else has left Raccoon City, from Chris Redfield disappearing, to even Barry Burton sending his family to Canada. Yeah, Canada. And here we have Jill, still in Raccoon City as it's going to shit. And I guess you can say, yeah, there is another STARS member that's still in Raccoon City. Brad Vickers, also known as the little chicken shit that decided to fly away in the fucking helicopter and leave everybody in the mansion until he decided to show up with a fucking rocket launcher to blow up the fucking tyrant. Yeah, that Brad Vickers is in Raccoon City with Jill. Yeah. So yeah, while Resident Evil 1, you were stuck in a mansion, right? And you had to deal with zombies and different types of creatures. And then Resident Evil 2, basically you being stuck in a city, but technically in the isolation of a police department. Well, this takes a completely opposite turn to the whole situation with Resident Evil 2. See, Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, yeah, you're stuck in a city. But there is a difference. Leon and Claire are, stuck in a city, but they're basically in isolation inside of a police department and just continues to go lower and lower and lower underground. But Jill Valentine is also stuck in a city, but she's more in the outside perspective, where basically she's stuck outside with these monstrosities that want to eat her alive. So whatever scary aspects you didn't feel in Resident Evil 1 or even Resident Evil 2, you were gonna feel them in Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 is also a very scary experience, but not in the ways that you would even think. See, in Resident Evil 2, you had to deal with a creature that was stalking Sherry Birkin, and you also had to deal with the T-103. Yeah, two monsters trying to kill you. Well, in this particular situation, you're dealing with one monster that wants to kill you, also known as Nemesis. Basically, a super tyrant. Yeah, a super tyrant. And he's smarter than any tyrant that you had to deal with in any previous titles. This Nemesis super tyrant unit, as I tend to call him actually, is set on one goal and one goal only. While, the T-103, his goal was to retrieve any samples of the G virus and, of course, kill survivors in the Raccoon City Police Department. And, of course, the unknown humanoid creature that was stalking Sherry, stalking Sherry. But Nemesis has one mission, and one mission only. Kill STARS members. Yeah, kill the STARS. And he even lets you know in the game what his mission is. Not just in terms of him saying STARS, but also the fact that he will do anything to kill you. But why continue to talk about it when I could just show you, right? Like I could show you just like in the last episode of Resident Evil 2. Wouldn't you like that? I sure as hell would as well. So, everyone, sit back, get your favorite drinking beverage, get that favorite snacking item, and let's get ready to dive on into my second favorite Resident Evil game in the whole franchise, Resident Evil 3, also known as Biohazard 3, also known as Biohazard The Last Escape, or whatever name you want to call it. So, let's just dive right on in.
The most intense. The most horrifying. It's in your blood. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. The nightmare continues, only from Capcom.
Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, originally released for the PlayStation video game console on September 22, 1999. After its release on the Sony PlayStation, Resident Evil Nemesis was ported to the Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo GameCube, and PC. Of course, if Resident Evil 2 was ported to PC, Resident Evil 3 had to be ported to PC as well. It would have been a sin, honestly. But before being published on its date mentioned, it had a lot of different beta stages, from items that never made it into the game, to items that were remixed or changed, as it were. To even changes to alternate costumes you would get later on in the game. The player controls Jill Valentine,
Hey, I'm no ordinary civvy. I'm a member of STARS.
former STARS member and survivor from the Arklay Mountains Mansion incident, to fight her way through and out of a doomed nightmare of a city that is Raccoon City. Aside from Jill, the player, you, also takes control of another character for a small portion of the game, but you know me, no spoilers. To advance through the City of Nightmares, Jill has to explore the city while avoiding, outsmarting, and defeating different types of enemies. Don't think outsmarting zombies is easy, okay? It's not. Jill can interact with the environment in several different ways, like opening doors, pushing objects, or climbing obstacles, like previous titles, of course. Scattered through the city are weapons, ammunition, and other items, which can be collected and put in Jill's inventory. Items can be examined, used, or combined with others. Aside from enemies, parts of the environment such as explosive barrels can be targeted and shot at, causing them to explode and damage nearby enemies. Of course, as I stated before, a super tyrant creature called Nemesis is encountered multiple times throughout the game as a constant boss and constant reminder of fear. Nemesis is immensely more powerful than Jill and has the ability to use a rocket launcher as a weapon, dodge incoming fire, and pursue Jill from one area to the next. He can even break through certain doors. Stupid, weak, fucking church doors. I recommend evading the most, but sometimes you must fight Nemesis. When this situation is forced upon you, you better be prepared. Nemesis is one hell of a bullet sponge.
No!
Now, yes, it is true. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis begins one day before the events of Resident Evil 2. Technically, when Jill leaves the city is when Resident Evil 2 happens. Then around the middle of the game, the story continues after the end of Resident Evil 2. So in a weird situation, Resident Evil 3 is its own prequel to Resident Evil 2 and its own sequel to Resident Evil 2. Hopefully that makes sense to some people. So what makes Resident Evil 3 more advanced than Resident Evil 1 or even Resident Evil 2, aside from a choice system and a new dodging feature? Well, seeing Raccoon City from another perspective, of course. In Resident Evil 2, you are still stuck in that same city, but escaping the hell that is from the outside, and exploring the Raccoon City Police Department and even its underground secrets. In Resident Evil 3, you are stuck in that city, but in a way. I feel the game tricks you into thinking it's going to play out like Resident Evil 2, but you keep getting kicked outside instead of staying indoors. It adds to vulnerability and adds some scare you didn't get from Resident Evil 2. Plus, Nemesis, still to this day, can be one of the scariest experiences in a Resident Evil game. Every person that has played Resident Evil 3 could tell you that they never, and I mean never, expected Nemesis to be as aggressive as he was. I recommend this game to people that not only didn't feel challenged in Resident Evil 2, but also want to see a different perspective of the nightmare of a city that became an experiment to Umbrella. Didn't think the unknown, humanoid stalking creature and the T-103 tyrant didn't challenge you or scare you? Play Resident Evil 3. I guarantee you will get overwhelmed. That's all I have to say.
So, everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw today, click that like button. Leave a nice positive comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts were playing Resident Evil 3 for your first time. And even if you haven't played Resident Evil 3, after watching this review, would you play it? Would you give it a shot? Would you give it an attempt? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you excuse me, it's time for me to go play me a couple rounds of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. So, I'll see you next time.